conducted on January, July, and August. So dito, pinormulate natin and diniscuss yung said manual. Then on January 2020, the said manual is submitted by PEMC to DOE. Then after nun, a public consultation was held on July to gather comments from the stakeholders. Then last year lang po at the end of 2021, the WCO certification and registration manual and including the amendments with the WESM rules was published in the Daily Tribune and Business World. So nung after 15 days last January 15, 2022, effective na po yung ating WCO certification and registration manual. So with the adoption of this manual, yung WESM members natin will be guided on how their WCOs may attain certification and maintain the said certification. So the WCO certification and registration manual aims to provide competency standards for all WCO and to promote continuous quality enhancement in the performance of compliance-related function. So I have said earlier, we want to professionalize yung duty nyo as the WESM compliance officer. So with the certification, mas ma-appreciate natin yung task natin as representatives of our respective companies. So as the industry evolves, yung technology natin nag-evolve, we too as compliance officer must also make the necessary improvement in compliance-related matters. With this certification program, we ensure na all WCOs and WEOs as well are well informed with the updates on market rule developments and obligations. So this manual also seeks to establish effective leadership within the WCO's respective organizations. So yung practice ng compliance must not only be externally but also internally. So yung mga WCOs natin, yung front runners natin for this vision. So under this manual, si IMAP and si PEMC as the governance arm are the accredited service provider who is tasked to provide lectures and training services. So for the WCO certification program. So both parties must ensure that there are adequate courses or lectures that can be offered for all sectors or members in the WESM. So lahat ng process na to will be oversight by the compliance committee with the assistance of course of the secretariat, which is the Enforcement and Compliance Office. So first sa duty ni CC is yung registration process. So after the certification, certified WCOs will undergo a registration procedure. So later on, mas madidiscuss to nung second part natin ng training, which is to be discussed by Engineer Carla Capuno. While yung competency standards and certification, nakaset na to sa manual, but throughout this process, the compliance committee as the oversight will recommend or establish competency standards and develop the certification program as necessary. So syempre may kita tayong mga for improvements or changes na kailangan, si compliance committee yung mag-oversight nito. So it is also the duty of the CC to evaluate and publish the results of the said programs. So kapag may guidelines na, siguro makikita natin doon kung kailan siya dapat ma-publish, kung ano yung mga evaluation results natin, ganyan. Then of course, yung enforcement natin. So dito na yung pwedeng may mga penalty impositions in case may violation or may non-compliance tayo dun sa manual. So mamaya ma-elaborate din yan ni Ms. Carla Capuno. So to avoid confusion, kasi nagkaroon na ng maraming terms for the WCO, here are the classifications of WCOs. So take note na yung mga terms na to is not mentioned in the manual. It is just coined to guide us para ma-avoid yung confusion. So first is the designated WCOs. These are the individuals duly designated by the WESM member to complete relevant lecture or training requirements. So this includes din yung mga WEOs natin, hindi lang yung WCO. So yes, even the WEOs are encouraged to undergo this certification process. So yung designated WCOs na yon, once ma-complete nila yung 36 credit units, are issued with a WCO certification. So yung mga individuals na to is matatawag na nating certified WCOs. So for example, a certain WESM member, mag-designate siya ng number of its employees. As let's say 5 employees, pinadala niya for a certification. Then na-complete ng mga individuals na yun yung 36 units, all of them will be issued by a WCO certification, and they will be called certified WCOs. So from this pool of certified WCOs, the WESM member will officially register its authorized representative to represent the company for its compliance-related matter. So one WESM member, one registered WCO. Pero yung sa certified WCOs, as many, pwede naman po. So kung ilan yung ipadali ni WESM member, basta ma-complete niya po yung 36 credit units, can be called a certified WCO and will receive the WCO certification. So paano ba how does this certification process go? So yung WCO natin, as I have said earlier, meron tayong mga accredited service provider, which is PEMC and IMAP. Doon sa mga lectures and trainings na yon, dapat maka-attend tayo nung mga trainings na may credit units. So once ma-complete natin yung 36 units, yun, mai-issuean na tayo ng Certificate of Completion or yung WCO certification natin. So itong process na to, yung certification process natin, is mandatory for all registered WCOs. So as I have said earlier, siguro kung hindi pa kayo sure kung sino yung registered WCOs nyo, you can contact us to confirm kung sino yung mga nakaregister sa respective companies nyo. For the WESM enforcement officers, it's optional but we highly encourage that everyone participate, since yung objective natin sa manual na to is to keep us all updated of the industry's recent developments. So for 3 years, sobrang daming magbabago doon. So dapat lahat tayo ay involved at updated. So also yung mga WEOs natin kasi sila yung highly engaged sa compliance undertakings. So it only makes sense na they also undergo the same trainings and lectures. So with the recognition ng expertise ng market operator, and since nagbibigay din sila ng lectures and trainings, they are exempted from the certification procedure. But they still need to register their WCO. So ayun, as I have said earlier, we need... So as I had said earlier, sorry, may naririnig akong audio. Nag-feedback yung voice. Hello? Okay na. So as I have said earlier, si WCO will need 36 units for certification. So yung 36 units na yon, magko-commence siya upon declaration ni WESM Governance Arm nung compliance period. So yung compliance period natin will last for 36 months or 3 years. So for example, nag-start tayo this June 26, 2022. We will end on June 25, 2025. Then immediately the day after that, yun na agad yung second compliance period natin, which is June 26, 2025 up to June 25, 2028. So magre-reset yung compliance period natin every 3 years. So for officers or personnel who are already registered as WCO in the WESM, within these 36 months after the declaration of the commencement of the compliance period, must ensure that they complete the 36 units to maintain its certification. So yun nga sabi ko kanina, 36 units. So pag nag-start siya, automatically registered naman na kayo as WCO. Ang kailangan nyo na lang i-ensure is makomplete nyo yung 36 units after 3 years para ma-renew nyo yung certification nyo as WCO. So 36 units for 36 months. So yung 36 credit units natin is applicable for the first certification and dun sa renewal. So bottom line, every 3 years, a WCO needs 36 units to renew its certification. So itong 36 units na to, kinonsider to after receiving recommendations from the stakeholders nung public consultations natin and yung mga comments natin sa manual. So I think maluwag na tong 36 units for 36 months, especially napakaraming lectures and trainings na ino-offer ni PEMC and IMAP. So yung credit units under the manual, ang standard computation niya is 1 hour worth of lecture or training is equivalent to 1 credit unit. So if in case the said lecture or training finished early or was shortened, the fraction of an hour shall be rounded up to 1 full hour. So kung napaaga, medyo mabilis yung discussion, konti lang yung nagtanong, i-round up na lang siya. So kindly take note then na CC will be formulating guidelines that would ensure strict monitoring of the attendees, whether virtually or in-person trainings. So depende na lang sa magiging guidelines na i-release ni Compliance Committee. So naka-base doon kung gaano kahigpit tayo mag-i-implement nitong certification program. So of course, a greater weight may be assigned for a lecture or training subject to the review rin ng Compliance Committee. So kung mas mahirap yung topic or highly technical, pwedeng mas mataas sa 1 credit unit per 1 hour yung ibigay na credit units doon. So as a requirement in the manual, the schedule of lecture or training shall be posted or published in both PEMC and IMAP's website at least 1 month prior to the intended date of lecture or training. So we do recognize na yung both PEMC and IMAP nagpe-prepare lagi ng 1 year worth of courses nila to be offered to the WCOs. So siguro antayin na lang natin na mag-start yung compliance period para makita natin kung ano yung mga trainings na may credit units. So later, may representatives din tayo from IMAP that will present their calendar of offered trainings and lectures. So under the manual, it is also a requirement that those posted lectures and trainings should have a marking of WCO certified lecture or training with the assigned credit units or points. So para to sa guidance ng mga WCOs kasi possible na merong mga lectures or trainings na not intended for the WCO certification purposes. So kung ang goal natin is for the certification, ang hanapin natin is yung mga trainings or lectures na may credit units. So upon completion ng mga trainings and lectures, may dalawang certificates na may issue sa atin. So first is yung ating certificate of attendance, which will be issued by the training service provider after attending each lectures and trainings. So under the manual, it is required that the certificate has the following contents: yung time, date, location, subject matter, and length of the activity. Kasi ito yung mga determinants dun sa credit units na ma-earn natin. Second naman is yung ating WCO certification. So ini-issue to and ginagrant sa mga WCOs na naka 36 credit units na. So dun sa certification na yon, naka-indicate din yung validity period nung WCO certification. So ito naman yung duties natin sa PEMC, yung accounting and publication of the credit units. So a database of all the certified and registered WCO shall be maintained in all the trainings attended, credit units earned, and the compliance status of each WCO shall be accounted for and published. So pag nagkaroon siguro ng detailed guidelines, may indicate na lang dun kung paano yung periodic reporting nitong report. It may be quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. So lastly, yung guidelines for the information exchange, posting, and update of the details of the certified and registered WCO, ifo-formulate pa lang po ito ni PEMC. So antay lang po siguro tayo ng mga future advisories for the new guidelines, new development dito sa ating WCO certification and registration manual. So I think that will be all for my part. I hope I explained everything clearly. If you have any questions, kindly type in on the link provided so we can address your concerns later on sa ating Q&A portion. I will give the floor back na to Engineer Paulo Alegre.
Thank you, Neil,
Senior
for that
Allegra.
very
Thank you.
informative presentation. So again, we wish to remind everyone to please take note any of your questions po during each of the presentations, as we will be addressing your queries during the Q&A portion later. We will be providing you a link in the chat box to access Menti. So si Menti po is an online platform where you may submit your questions. Kindly follow na lang din po ang ating prescribed format, that is company name underscore your name colon followed by your question. So that's company name underscore full name colon and then your questions. So for proper documentation, we will prioritize those questions sent through Menti in that prescribed format. So Menti platform can also be accessed through the QR code flashed on your screens. So at this point, I wish to advise you as well that the post-training materials such as the press mat that we're using today and the consolidation or documentation of the Q&A later and the certificates of attendance will be available only to those who will fill out the PEMC transactional survey or the PTS. So please make sure to complete that survey later as well, which we will provide in the chat box or through the QR code. I-on po natin yun sa link tree natin sa QR code towards the end of this training. So before we proceed with the rest of the topics, let's all have first a 5-minute break and we'll continue shortly after a few minutes. Thank you. So a pleasant morning again to everyone and welcome back. So since we're unable to show you a video presentation we prepared earlier, we are going to reshare this presentation. So this aims to offer you a brief understanding or general overview of the importance of compliance in the WESM and within your own organization. So let's again watch this video presentation. Thank you.
A pleasant day to everyone. We are so glad that we meet once again for another awareness training. But before we proceed with the training proper, let me discuss a little about a topic which we sometimes take for granted: our compliance in our own organizations. It is true that part of the compliance efforts of PEMC is to develop, refine, and implement monitoring tools in the WESM. In this context, the PEMC ECHO seeks to detect non-compliance in the market and identify potential subjects for investigation of breach of the WESM rules. We evaluate the activity using the available market data and information to determine whether there is a fundamentals-based explanation for the activity. We even perform a more in-depth review of the conduct when our efforts fail to explain the trigger for investigation. And that is when we coordinate with the market participant to request additional information and explanations for the conduct. What others do not realize is that achieving compliance, not assessing penalties, is the central goal of our enforcement efforts. And the PEMC believes that improved compliance as a result of a company's commitment, your commitment, and the successful implementation of a strong compliance program would result in fewer violations over time. Over the years, the PEMC ECHO heard of a variety of compliance practices that are geared towards preventing one from committing breach of the WESM rules or engaging in market manipulation. And often, we ask the subject of the investigation if it has an effective compliance plan in place at the time of the detection of non-compliance. Such an exercise provides the market participants with insights into how the organization would implement new compliance practices and a better sense of the resources and time required to do so. So, let's name a few of those compliance practices that are observed in some organizations. 1. Designing an effective trading compliance program. 2. Establishing, implementing, and enforcing effective practices to deter and detect non-compliance and other misconduct. And 3. Assessing the performance of the compliance program on a regular basis. The PEMC ECHO is also mindful that not all of these practices will be appropriate for every organization, and that there are likely other compliance practices, not mentioned earlier, that are also effective, or that may be more appropriate or effective for a particular organization. But how do we develop a good compliance program? Well, it's really you who should make the appropriate decisions. While we don't guarantee the effectiveness of these things, here are some of the things that you may also consider. First, the organizational structure and composition of the compliance function. Second, the human resources issues, such as hiring standards, compensation, and discipline. Third, the types of training used to disseminate compliance information. And lastly, the technological resources that you may use to carry out the compliance functions. It is also important that you monitor the trader's activities to identify any wrongdoings, intentional or otherwise. You may establish, for example, your own internal rules and restrictions that are appropriate for your trader's activities that will further reduce the risk of misconduct. Consistently monitor trading activities for violations of those rules and for any other suspicious activity. Or, just strictly enforce all compliance rules and follow up on all potential issues. If there are effective programs, it's not impossible that there are also ineffective trading compliance practices. That is why you need to do regular evaluations to determine compliance gaps and failures, and identify if updates are necessary. Lastly, guys, whichever program you choose to practice, let us not forget that promoting a culture of compliance starts at the top, with a chief executive officer and other executive officers who are committed to compliance. and who demonstrate that commitment through action. The organization and the executive officers must be committed to promoting compliance at all levels by devoting the necessary resources to the organization's compliance activities, implementing and enforcing rules and restrictions that are appropriate for the organization's activities, ensuring that employees understand their compliance obligations, and continually assessing the effectiveness of the compliance practices. We all belong in the same industry. Let us grab this opportunity to share best practices and consider which aspects of a compliance program are so important for us. We, at PEMC, support the development of a compliance program for the industries it seriously governs. Thank you for listening. Have a pleasant day to everyone.
So I hope that video presentation was able to provide you an idea of the vital roles po ng WESM compliance officers and WESM enforcement officers even in achieving a compliance culture within your respective companies. So that is through conduct of best practices daw po according to the video presentation and compliance programs for your organizations. So I hope you're ready as we're going to play a quick game for now called the WCO Jigsaw Puzzle. So, handa na po ba ang lahat? The game is very simple as we're going, you may access it by clicking the link that will be sent to the chat box that will be provided later on my queue para sabay-sabay po tayo. Paunahan po ito. The objective of the game is to complete the picture or the puzzle by putting the pieces together. And then when you're finished, you'll have to take a screenshot of that full image of the puzzle and send it to the chat box along with your name and company name. For example, ito pong Paulo C. Alegre -PEMC and send it together with the screenshot of the completed puzzle sa ating chat box. So the first 3 participants who send in the complete picture will be the winners and each of them will receive a 500 peso money in GCash. So okay po ba yan? Are we all ready to join the game? So this is the first time that we're handing out prizes ata in the history of Eco Tradings. So it's New Year po, di ba? And then we're giving away 500 pesos in GCash. So ready na po ba? On my cue, Eco personnel will send in the game link. So ready na po ah. So however, please be reminded po, since marami po tayong sasali, baka po sabay-sabay mag-send ng completed puzzle. So the winners will be determined by the first senders who appear on our screen. Kung sino po yung officially first 3 participants to complete the game sa amin pong screen. So everyone is welcome to play. So ready na po ba ang lahat? The link to our WCO Jigsaw Puzzle will be sent to your chat boxes now. Ayan. So, the link has been sent. Click nyo na po yan. And for those who will not be joining, sayang naman po yung 500 pesos GCash for the 3 winners. Ganito lang po yun. Kagaya po lang nasa screen. Arrange na lang siya. And then pag na-complete nyo na, send it. Send a screenshot. Block daw po si Sir Raymond Ledesma. Can someone check that as well? Are you able to access the game po? Also, blocked from playing, Mr. Several participants are being blocked to play the game daw po. Let me check the game link as well. Meron naman po. I don't know why. Maybe it's with your internet settings. Sayang naman po. Yeah, you may try using your mobile phones. I think someone already completed the game. Reminder po to send the screenshot together with your complete name and company. Ayan. May pumapasok na pong completed puzzle. Pasensya na po sa mga na-block. Yeah, we're just going to verify kung sino po yung nauna and nakasunod sa mechanics with the game and company name together with the screenshot kung sino po yung nauna sa aming screen. So, let's all see what we can get out of that puzzle. Marami na po nagsisend ng screenshot. Thank you for participating. So you may still send in your screenshots together with your name and company name. So if you win po, if you're a verified winner, someone from PEMSI Echo will get in touch with you for your GCash info. So we need 3 winners and I think marami na pong nakapag-send. Ayan. So while we wait for the names of the official winners, let's first take a look at the completed puzzle. Thank you again for participating. So this is the completed puzzle ng ating game. So it actually summarizes the WCO's responsibilities. Hindi lang siya basta puzzle. So it has it contains the responsibilities of the WSM compliance officers. Isa-isahin po natin. So part of the WCO's responsibilities is to monitor the activities and transactions in the WSM of his or her organization, ensure compliance, and put in place necessary procedures and guidelines. Submit to ECHO an annual report on his or her organization's compliance with the WSM rules and market manuals. Part of your responsibility as well is to propose amendments to the WSM rules and WSM market manuals to enhance or develop WSM enforcement and compliance if necessary, and coordinate with ECHO on all matters relating to WSM enforcement, compliance, and governance, including the provision of information and data when needed or when asked by ECHO. And lastly, comply with the continuing certification requirement. Ito po yung last responsibility na nadagdag sa ating WSM rules. So all these responsibilities will be further discussed by our presenter later. So I think we have the. I'll just verify with the logistics if they have the names of our official winners for this game. So can we now have the names of the official winners? I think it will be sent to the chat box to officially announce. So congratulations to Congratulations to Mr. Giancarlo Reynante of GNPD, Mr. Clark Simeon R. De Castro of FNPC, and our third winner is Mr. Michael A. Gieb of Panelco. So thanks again for participating our game. All our 3 winners will receive GCash, 500 pesos po. Someone in ECHO will contact you for your information po. So again, thank you everyone for participating our game today. Hope you all enjoyed it. So we now return to the next part of our training where we will cover the remaining topics for today. So please welcome from the Enforcement and Compliance Office, Engineer Carla Janine Capuno, one of our Enforcement and Compliance Senior Analysts from the Investigation Division.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can I be heard, Pao?
Yes, Lala, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So again, good morning, everyone. I am Carla from the Investigation Division and is a part of the ECHO Lead Training Group. and I will be the presenter for this portion of the training session. So before we begin, let me just remind everyone to please kindly ensure that your microphones are on mute so as not to disrupt the audio of the presenter, so that we can be clearly heard by the other attendees as well. Thank you. So again, good morning. In continuation of today's awareness training on the WCO Certification and Registration Manual, or the WCO CRM, let us now proceed with the next part of this training session. So beginning with the registration process. So, okay, some might be wondering on the difference between the certification process and the registration process. In the recently promulgated WCO CRM 1.0, which basically sets out the competency standards that we are to uphold with the WCOs to further enhance the culture of compliance that we have been promoting or aiming for since the very beginning, it explicitly states that the certification process precedes the registration process. If you may recall in the earlier discussion, we have three distinct terms that we associate with the type or the classification of a WCO. So just a quick recap. First, we have the designated WCOs. These refer to the selected individuals within your respective organizations whom you have officially identified to undergo the process of certification. These individuals may come from your current pool of nominated WCO or WEOs, or those that are listed already in our compliance registry, which we base from your submitted WCO forms. Note that a WEO or a WESM enforcement officer is a term that we have coined and have been using internally to refer to the then contact persons who are in regular coordination with us in ECHO to attend to the regular compliance-related concerns or submissions. Currently, or prior the implementation of the WCO CRM, there is only one WCO per facility, where there is no limit to the number of WEOs that a facility may assign. This time, while you may be tagged as a WEO of a given facility, but once you have been selected to undergo the certification process together with your current WCO, both you, the WEO, and the WCO will be identified as the designated WCO and will remain as such while you complete or undergo the entire process of certification. There. So please do not confuse yourselves with the use of these terms, but I believe you will easily get used to it once we begin with the whole process. Then from the set of the designated WCOs, so whether you are a WEO or a WCO in your company in the past, but once you have been selected to undergo the certification process, or basically while you are still in the process of completing the requirements, you are termed as the designated WCOs. But as soon as you have completed the requirements, and that is for those who were able to complete the required 36 credit units within the 3-year compliance period and were already issued with the WCO certification, you could both then be tagged as the certified WCOs. So there can be as many designated and certified WCOs in a company. Lastly is the registered WCO, which refers to the identified authorized representative of a company selected from among the pool of certified WCOs and the one who meets the eligibility criteria to fulfill a number of compliance-related duties. So there will only be one registered WCO per company. Question: kung isa lang naman yung magiging registered WCO, do we need to send as many representatives to undergo the certification? Well, it is totally within the discretion of the company. Again, while it remains optional for the current WEOs to undergo the certification process, but whenever possible within your company, we would still highly encourage for you to undergo the certification process for a number of reasons. Primarily, that is to keep these representatives informed and updated with the market developments. And as mentioned, to also promote continuous quality enhancement in performing the compliance-related functions in a company. And then on top of that, it could also serve as a contingency for a company in the event that there might be some personal movement within your company. So going back to our presentation, while the certification process will be facilitated by the service providers such as the IMOP and PEMC, providing the lectures and trainings, the registration process will be governed by PEMC. So again, from the pool of certified WCOs, a company is to identify one who shall be the official registered WCO to represent a specific facility in all the compliance and enforcement proceedings. In the rules, among the responsibilities of a WESM member is to register a certified WCO and WESM. We would just like to emphasize, however, another eligibility criteria for a certified WCO to be recognized and selected as the registered WCO of a company on top of completing the credit unit requirements. The representative must at least also occupy a senior management position in a company. So when we see the senior management position, this one that carries with it the authority and capability to plan and direct the work of individuals, or simply one who is able to make key decisions in a company. It is also emphasized that this is not necessarily tied in an employee-employee relationship. So a company or the management may be represented through a consultancy engagement for as long as the company or for as long as the representative holds a senior management position in its affiliation. As also mentioned in the previous presentation, IMOP being a WESM member shall also submit a registered WCO, but is exempted from the certification requirement. That is in recognition of the fact that they are also considered as a subject matter expert, and subject matter expert being part of the service providers conducting the trainings. Nonetheless, the registered WCO shall likewise hold at least a senior management position in the company, just like the rest of you. And one more thing, all the WESM members, including the market operator, shall comply with these requirements within the compliance period, which will be identified in the set of guidelines that we will be releasing, that we will be formulating beginning next month. And for failure to comply will be subject to sanctions pursuant to Section 7 of the WESM rules. In terms of the representation, affiliated WESM members may be allowed to register one WCO to represent them in WESM, provided that the representation is limited under one company name. An example given for this is NGCP. Even if it functions as the system operator, meeting service provider, network service provider, the company or NGCP may opt to be represented by just a single registered WCO. The same goes for the generating companies. For example, a trading participant or company A has multiple facilities, say X geothermal power plant, Y diesel power plant, etc. It could be represented by just one registered WCO, given they belong under one corporate umbrella. And then we also have a transitory provision wherein during the first 3-year compliance period, all the registered WCOs of a company as listed in our compliance registry, which we based from your submitted WCO forms, are by default the registered WCOs of a company. Nevertheless, they shall undertake the necessary action to comply with the certification requirements. So at the end of the transitory period or the first 3-year compliance period, by June 2025, in case the first compliance period will be reckoned from or beginning June of this year, we will be assessing if your registered WCO met the requirements Otherwise, you will need to update your WCO registration for the upcoming compliance period. Question: are the WESM members allowed to replace their WCOs within the transitory period? The answer is yes.
25 na.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so going back to the question, sorry, may we request Mr. someone from Minergy kindly put your microphone on hold, please. Thank you. Okay, going back to the question, are the WESM members allowed to replace the WCOs within the transitory period? The answer is yes, but the replacement must still ensure to meet the eligibility criteria and to complete the certification requirements within the compliance period. So once the registered WCO for a given facility is identified by a trading participant or a WESM member, among its responsibilities include the following. One is in monitoring the activities and transactions in WESM, establishing necessary compliance programs for the company, and ensuring that these compliance programs are carried out. And then next, in case deemed necessary, the registered WCO may propose possible amendments to the WESM rules and manuals for to further enhance the WESM enforcement and compliance processes or promote improved commercial and technical processes. We have noticed in the entries indicated in the submitted WCO reports that some TPs actually expressed possible amendments that could be subject for rules change. And while we do recognize that, given that there is still a process in the rules change that we need to adhere to and follow, so you will have to actually go through that process. And kindly note that it is not enough that it is indicated in the WCO report for it to materialize or be addressed. Although we still encourage to indicate that in the report so that the DOE being a policy-making body might also consider to regard the noted suggestions as relevant in the probable enhancements in the WESM. And then we, among the responsibilities, also include the coordination with ECO on all matters relating to WESM enforcement, compliance, or governance, and even on data provision as may be required by ECO or the Compliance Committee or any WESM Governance Committee. And then fourth, we have the responsibility on the submission of the WCO annual report to ECO on the TP compliance with the WESM rules and manuals. So the deadline of which is, I think, that until the 31st of January. So for those who were not able to submit yet, kindly coordinate with ECO on this. So if you may notice, these first four responsibilities are nothing new. These have long been stipulated in the WESM rules under section 7.2.9 as per the DOE Department Circular number 2010-07-0008 dated June 30 of 2010. And the recent development on this, which is now also a part of the WESM rules section 7.2.9, as added through the DOE Department Circular number 2021-12-0041, dated just this December 21, 2021, is the fifth one, and that is ensuring compliance with the continuing certification requirements. As for the continuing requirements, still just the same, the attainment or fulfillment of 36 credit units within 36 months or the 3-year compliance period. In terms of renewal, it is the WESM governance arm or PEMC that will be monitoring the compliance status of all registered WCOs within 6 months before the end of the compliance period. Then a member or a WESM member shall be notified of deficiencies, if any, for the completion of the requirements. And then at the end of a given compliance period, Upon the attainment of the aforementioned requirements, a renewed certificate of registration shall be issued to those who qualified, to which the validity period is or will also be indicated. For the certified WCOs who were not selected by their companies as the registered WCO, these are likely the WEOs of the company. They are still encouraged to take the certification program for renewal because, as I have mentioned earlier, it will be helpful for the company, for its personnel to be involved in the it will be helpful for the company involved in the compliance functions to always remain informed and updated with the market developments, which is essential to carry out their functions well. At the same time, it could also, again, serve as a contingency for the company in the event that the existing registered WCO of a company was sanctioned for violations or is unable to meet the requirements for renewal. Then at least there could be another personnel from its pool of eligible certified WCOs that could easily be filed as a replacement. In the event of changes in the registered WCO and WESM, the WESM member shall notify PEMC within 3 working days from the severance, which may be either due to resignation, retirement, termination, or any other cause of separation. Given the need to reappoint, the WESM member may select replacement from either its current pool of certified WCOs or an individual with a valid certification or who has already earned credit units from its previous employment or engagement within the same compliance period. So in this case, the WESM member shall seek prior confirmation with PEMC and then secure an accreditation certification indicating the validity of the earned credit units within the same compliance period. So what are the 2 qualifying circumstances that are subject to sanctions? One is the non-designation or registration or non-registration of WCOs, and another is when a WESM member may have submitted its set of designated WCOs but is or are unable to meet or comply with the certification requirements and or continuing requirements. Kindly note that these are treated as separate violations. So these violations or non-compliances may result to either of the following. First is the issuance of a non-compliance notice, and a violation could also be ground for the imposition of penalty authorized under the penalty manual, which, as per the revised penalty manual under Section 5, there is a catch-all provision. For first offense, it entails a reprimand or a non-compliance letter, and then second offense, 5,000, and for the escalated or the third offense is 10,000. So these violations will also result to non-representation of the WESM member by the non-compliant registered WCO in any enforcement or compliance proceedings to which the represented company is involved. In that event, the WESM member shall immediately register in the WESM another WCO from its pool of eligible certified WCOs to represent the company. As for the timeline of activities for this year, we have initially plotted the following targets and schedules. For this month is the conduct of awareness training on the recently promulgated WCO CRM. Then within the first 2 quarters is the development of the detailed guidelines or work instructions with the compliance committee. Third is the preparation of the training curriculum by the training service providers. As of now, we have a load of trainings actually prepared for the entire year. So you could expect a series of advisories on this. I think the first 3 or 4 offerings, along with the tentative schedules, were already included in the first training advisory that we have issued via email. So we have been rolling out advisories soon as the schedules are finalized, unless, of course, necessary changes need to be implemented. But in any case, we will keep you posted. So just kindly ensure that you also monitor and regularly check your mails for such announcements. And let me just also plug for our must dispatch participants. We have an upcoming FAS procedure and interim interface workshop this early February. I think it is slated this February 10. So the details in the registration form will be included in the advisory that we will be rolling out, which this week, I think, if not later today, or I think by tomorrow. So some of these course offerings bear credit units if okay, so will some of these course offerings bear credit units if offered within the compliance period, or will this be considered already as one of those trainings tagged as as WCO certified lecture or training with an assigned credit unit? Well, that is also something that we are yet to find out, since we are still in the process of, again, developing the full guidelines and the final set of training curriculum, its equivalent weight, and the credit unit that it will, the equivalent credit unit, which will ultimately still be subject to extensive deliberations and, of course, the approval of the compliance committee. Nevertheless, we acknowledge the possibility that some of these trainings that we have already lined up may or may not be part of the WCO certified trainings. In any case, the final and approved course offerings of PEMC or IMAP will be published in the respective websites. As presented earlier, the schedule of any lecture or training shall be posted in the website at least 1 month prior to the intended date of the training. At the same time, you will also be notified of such developments in case available already. And then later on, we have a representative from IMAP to give us updates or provide us an overview of their training activities as well. And then going back, the fourth one is also within the first 2 quarters of this year is the development of guidelines. The development of the guidelines shall immediately be followed by the issuance of advisories or posting of relevant bulletins for the guidance of our WCOs. And then it will be followed by the commencement of the compliance period, which is projected to be declared by second quarter. The initial target for this is by June 2022, but then again, this is still tentative until the issuance of the guidelines. And then by fourth quarter is the partial accounting and publication of the compliance status and earned units. As stated in the first part of the training earlier, ECHO will be maintaining a database of all the certified and registered WCOs, the trainings attended, the earned credit units. So the compliance status shall be accounted for and published. And then the mechanism for the information exchange and the period or periodic publication will be covered by or indicated also in the guidelines, which will be formulated by PEMC with the compliance committee. Also within the fourth quarter is the implementation of enforcement actions, if any. So that will cover the WESM members with no assigned WCOs yet up to this moment, given this is a basic obligation based on the WESM rules as early as 2010, wherein the WESM members are to nominate a WCO to represent the WESM member. So full details of this will be shall be included also in the guidelines. So I think that is all for this portion of the training. If you have any question or concern for clarification, you may send them in the link provided in the chat box and following the prescribed format. We look forward to the same usual level of cooperation and active participation from you with the programs that we are about to implement. Thank you.
Thank you, Lala, for that very informative presentation. And again, thank you to our participants who sent their questions via the Menti. If you have any other questions regarding Lala's presentation, kindly send them through the platform and we will address them all during the Q&A portion later. Now to present about the trainings being provided by the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines, or IMAP. May I call on Engineer Josel F. Ko, Assistant Manager from the Knowledge Management Services team of the IMAP. So let's all give him a warm virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Pao. Hi, Sir Eric Luis. I see your messages in the chat box. I'll be sharing my presentation and let me know din po if the audio is clear.
Yes, just clear, Josel.
Thanks, my good friend, Paolo. Can you see the presentation already?
Yes, you can see the presentation.
All right. Just let me know po in the chat box if the presentation is already flashed on your screen, and I will just be presenting our scheduled trainings lined up for 2022. And again, magandang umaga po or maayong buntag sa inyong tanan wherever you may be. I hope you're all safe. And again, this is Josel Ko from IMAP's Knowledge Management Services team. And on behalf of IMAP in attendance this morning, we would just also like to extend our thanks to PEMC and to ECHO for the opportunity to present our lined up programs for the year. And it's important that the presenters earlier keep reiterating and giving emphasis on is the importance of training our employees to become more knowledgeable in the business that you are all engaged in, because this will help you essentially to carry out your responsibilities in relation to your engagement with the OSM. So similar to the previous years, we have always been publishing our training schedules annually in our website. So you just have to visit the public website of IMAP. That's www.imap.ph. You just need to go to the services tab. And when you click on the services tab, you will be redirected also to our knowledge center section. So in the knowledge center section, you will find our training programs and also our different services in relation to data request. So after you click on that, yeah, so it will be providing you with the trainings offered and our course outlines, which are all downloadable in the said page. The training guidelines and procedures are there as well. The training fees, if there are some questions in relation to that, you may also find it in our training guidelines. The enrollment form is also provided there. We actually updated our training enrollment form. So just in case po that you need to download the new form, you can also do that in this page. And also the registration link to where you will be submitting your accomplished form is provided here po. As the training calendar for 2022 is concerned, we have published our schedules for the basic lesson training. Take note that this is actually a prerequisite for you to attend our advanced courses. So we have full schedules starting this February until December. And then for your attendance to the advanced lesson training, we have 2 for advanced course on pricing and settlement. And we also have 2 for trading operations, governance, and compliance. Kindly note as well that we will also be providing you with the credit units for each of this training once the final guideline is released also by ECHO. So we will also be sending an advisory on that as well as for your attendance to retail competition and open access. We will also seek the approval internally first of the credit units that will be provided for each of these training programs. And should we be um, having other training offerings for the year, we will also be informing you through an advisory, and such will also be published in our website and our social media pages. So should you need to send in some inquiries, you can do that via email through kms@imap.ph. So that's the email address of our team under the knowledge management services. I'd also like to show you our website very quickly.
I think Josh was disconnected. Can we reshare the presentation of IMA? Gabs? I think he's at the last slide. Yeah. Maybe we can wait for a couple of minutes, a few moments for Josel to get reconnected.
Apologies. I pressed the wrong button. I'll be showing you po our website. All right. So this is our website po. So you just go to services, and once you click on that, you go to the Knowledge Center page. And if you are interested to know our course outlines, so you just simply click on whichever training po na gusto nyo pong ma-download po yung course outline. So we have there the WESM overview. This is a free training. We have the basic WESM trainings or COA, advanced WESM trainings. And then as mentioned, if you need to uh, download our training enrollment guidelines and procedures, you can do that here, as well as our updated training enrollment form. And once you have accomplished that form, you click on this link po to upload that. So the training calendar or schedules are also published here. Okay, so our first basic lesson training schedule this February 10 and 11 is already closed for enrollment, but we have several other schedules lined up naman po na pwede nyo attendan. And also, we have actually created a link tree. So para po mas madali nyo ma-access yung iba't ibang links associated to our training and data services. So meron po dito list of courses offered and scheduled, the guidelines and procedures, where you can download the enrollment form and upload it. Okay, we have for data, the list of services offered if you need to request. For data or certification, you just click on this link. And also for the market information data bank. And so that's our link tree, and our social media pages are also here. So I think that's it. We're open to receiving your questions as well. So just send them in po via the link or QR code in your chat box. I'll turn you over again to Paula, our moderator. Thanks, Pau. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Josh, for navigating us through the IMAP public website and for presenting IMAP scheduled trainings for 2022. So for any training inquiries, please send them an email at Knowledge Management Services Team at kms@imap.ph. So that's their email address. Or you may visit their website at www.imap.ph. So again, Josh, thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. So we'd also like to reiterate po and take this opportunity to plug our upcoming event, especially for the mass dispatch generating units participants. to the upcoming ECO event. Ito po yung FAS Procedure and Interim Interface Workshop as mentioned by Lala earlier. This is to be held on February 10, 2 weeks from now. An official advisory for this will be sent via email by tomorrow. So again, we are inviting all mass dispatch generating units or participants to this workshop. So kindly await na lang po the registration link for that one. So I hope everyone is ready as we now move on to the questions and answers portion. We will share the screen to show you the questions that's being addressed on Menti, yung pong mga sinend ninyo. So we have collected all your questions throughout the training, and to answer your queries, we have here the presenters as well as the representatives from ECO. So we encourage you to still send in your questions or clarifications via the link, and we will still ask the panel to answer or explain. Let me read the first question. This is from SVPL QPPL, Mr. Pong Ignacio. How can you ensure sufficient number of trainings that will be provided? Some WCO may not be available in some schedules, thus we must provide at least some excess training. And to answer this, may call on our first presenter, Neil Bagik.
So, thank you, Pao. So, as I have said earlier po, yung compliance committee as the oversight, siya po yung mag-govern dito. So, they may formulate guidelines to govern both PEMC and IMAP to ensure yung availability ng trainings and lectures. Also included dun sa discussion ko kanina, mandated din si PEMC and IMAP to ensure na may sufficient na trainings and lectures for the WCO certification program.
Thank you, Neil, for answering that question. So next question, please. I hope we are able to clarify that one for you. So with regards to the submission of WCO report, does Discover also Mindanao DUs to submit said report even if Western Mindanao is not yet operational? To answer this question, may I call on again Neil?
So for the WCO annual report po, all WESM members are covered by this manual. So technically, the Mindanao WESM members, which are already registered in the WESM, are covered by this rule. However, we should consult muna siguro with the compliance committee on any relaxation on this mandate during the WESM Central Dispatch scheduling sa Mindanao until na magkaroon na ng commercial operation sa WESM Mindanao. So wait na lang po siguro tayo ng updates. Thank you, Pao.
Thanks, Neil. So from Socoteco 1, Daryl Sultan, our WESM membership effective date is December 27, 2021. Are we required to submit the WCO annual report for the year 2021? To answer this one, I call on again Neil.
So given po yung coverage ng annual report, January to December 2021, si Socoteco po pwede na po sa succeeding year na lang po on 2022.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next question. As to the WCO report submitted every January, we appreciate if PEMC can give timely feedback on all the concerns raised in said report so that members may know the next step. Can we expect that feedback? Any feedback for this from Neil?
So yung sa reports, noted natin to. So yearly naman po we present sa WCO Summit held every September. So siguro i-detailed na lang po namin this upcoming WCO Summit 2022.
Thank you, Neil, for answering that question. Do you want to add some more remarks, Ms. Lala?
Hi, Pao. I think that will suffice already. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, do existing certified WCOs need to register again to the new process? And then to answer this question, may I call on Neil again?
So currently kasi yung mga existing WCO natin in the ECO database is considered na po as the registered WCO. So under the transitory provisions, lahat po ng registered WCO shall remain to be the registered WCO for 3 years. So ang kailangan lang po natin ensure after that 3 years, during those 3 years, ma-complete natin yung 36 units for the renewal po ng certification natin. Thank you. Hope that clarifies.
Thank you, Neil. Next question, please. Is training lecture have training fee? May we request that the lecture series training schedules be emailed to all WCOs for notification purposes? Can we be WCO of other company? And to clarify this one, may I call on again our first presenter, Neil Bage.
So under the manual, authorize yung mga training service providers natin to collect fees to cover yung cost ng training. So as for PEMC, we are still trying to discuss this internally to cover po dun sa ating approved budget. So with regards naman po to IMAP, siguro we can call Sir Josel kung ano yung internal policy sa kanila on these trainings regarding sa fees.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Thanks, Pao. Similar po from our previous years po na training, meron pa rin po tayong fee that we're collecting, and you can also find it in our training enrollment guidelines and procedures. Now, should we have other training offerings naman po na for free, we will let you know din naman po through an advisory. So, but our regular scheduled trainings po, these are with fees. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. So next question, please. Does this training has equivalent credit units? And if existing WCO earning credit units, however, he is replaced with another WCO within the year, within the 3-year period, are the said credits are transferable? May I call on Ms. Lala to answer this question?
Hi, Pao. So thank you. As for this training, it does not entail a credit unit yet. So the attainment of the credit units will begin upon the declaration of the commencement of the compliance period, which the initial target is by this June of 2022. And then on the question on whether the existing WCO credit units is replaced with another. So no, the credit units are not non-transferable. It shall be credited to the WCO, which he may carry whenever he is transferred to another company. And again, for that to be recognized, you just need to seek for the accreditation certification or the equivalent certification that we will be issuing to validate the acquired credit units.
Thank you, Lala, for clarifying that question. So next question, please. This question is from Mr. Ricardo Carmelo Buenafe. Can you please expound more on the transition period? Current WCOs need not be certified for the moment as regards the compliance certification requirement. And to answer this one, may I call on again Ms. Lala?
Okay, so at the beginning of the compliance period, as I have stated earlier, all the registered WCOs will remain as the registered WCO for the first 3-year compliance period. So at the start or at the beginning of the second compliance period, these but again, I would just like to also emphasize that while they will be by default the registered WCOs, they must ensure to undertake the necessary action to undergo or complete the certification requirements. So by the start of the second compliance period, the said WCO must ensure that they have already garnered the required 36 credit units to be eligible for the renewed certificate of renewed certificate to be eligible for the renewal certificate. That's all.
Thank you, Lala, for answering that question. Next question, please. This question is from Alson's Power Group from Mr. JP Holgado. Hi, if the lectures or training topics we are taking are just the same over the compliance period, are the points counted separately or not? Thank you. And to answer this one, may I call on Neil?
So ideally po, we have to cover as much as possible na topics kasi ang purpose nga po nitong certification program is to yung ma-update tayo sa mga rules and developments. Pero yung with regards sa duplication, siguro mako-cover na lang to sa guidelines na mapo-formulate ni Compliance Committee. So wait na lang po natin yung guidelines. Pero ang intention po talaga is ma-update tayo so as much as possible yung mga topics per year siguro hindi ma-duplicate. Thank you.
Tama po. Noted, Sir Neil. And next question, please. So will the certificate of attendance include the earned credit units for every training attended? To answer this one, go ahead, Neil.
So yes po, as discussed earlier, it is said under the manual na required po na yung certificate of attendance, nandun po yung credit units. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So next question, please. Can a non-designated WCO still participate on all creditable WCO trainings, and the same can earn credit units for a reserve personnel in case of the termination or removal of the designated WCO? Can you clarify on this one, Sir Neil?
So under the manual kasi required si WSM member to designate yung magpa-participate for the certification program. So eventually siguro magde-develop tayo ng mga forms to ascertain na yung mga personnel are designated by the WSM member. So ang concern po siguro is ma-terminate or magkaroon ng removal. So kaya po ang encouragement po namin, so pwede po kayo magpadala ng kung ilan po yung pwede nyong padala. So mako-consider na sila as designated kasi they will undergo the certification program. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. So next question, please. This question is from NRGC, Ms. Leticia Ray. Do you consider a company's legal counsel overseeing all regulatory and legal compliance or matters as senior management position? For this one, to clarify, may I call on Ms. Lala?
Yes. So to answer this question, yes, as it actually satisfies the conditions I have presented earlier, to qualify and be considered as a senior management position, and as long as he or she is authorized to make key decisions on compliance-related matters and is also able to take action on any enforcement matter involving the WSM member.
Thank you, Lala, for your clarification. Next question, please. Regarding the submission of the WCO report, may I ask for Casurecos to login credential? I think we're going to send you via email po your login credential a little later po within the day. Thank you. So this question is from APC, Mr. Jason Francisco. Are our proposal for the amendment of applicable WSM rules or manuals included in the WCO annual report discussed in the RCC? May I call on Ms. Lala to answer this question?
Okay. So on this question, the raised concerns indicated in the WCO reports are being presented to the DOE, which may decide whether to consider it in the review of the effectiveness of the current policies. So this is actually a good point and a recommendation. So perhaps in the recent copies of the WCO annual report for 2021, we can also furnish the RCC a copy thereof for information and probable topic for study. And then again, we want to encourage everyone or the participants to follow the established standards on the rules change process so that these can be addressed, and for the submitted suggestions to be to materialize and to be addressed. So that is all for this one.
Thank you, Lala, for answering that question. Next question, please. This question is from Zaneco, Clyde Realista. Since WESM in Mindanao is still to be implemented, will the indicated sanctions applicable to Mindanao DUs that are still to designate a WCO? May I call on again Ms. Lala to clarify this question?
Okay, so all WESM members are covered by this manual. So technically, the Mindanao WESM members which are already registered in the WESM are also covered by this rule. However, we will still consult the compliance committee on any relaxation of this mandate during the WESM Central Dispatch scheduling or until the commercial operation of WESM Mindanao.
Thank you, Lala, for answering that question. Next question, please. This question is from Mr. Giancarlo Reynante of GNPD. Can a TP apply for exception on the senior management requirement for the WCO? To answer this, Ms. Lala, go ahead, please.
So the answer for this is yes. So the probable limitation is recognized, and we will be consulting the compliance committee on this. And let's see if this can be covered by the guidelines that we'll be issuing and that we will be formulating. So thank you for raising this concern.
Next question, please. Thank you, Lala. Will the trainings be new and comprehensive, or the topics will be the same and recap of all previous trainings to accommodate new participants or WCOs? To answer this, may I call on Ms. Lala again?
So for this one, ideally, we have to cover as much topics that are relevant to the compliance function, and we will try to avoid taking duplicate topics as would form part of the 36 credit units. Otherwise, we will defeat the purpose of the certification program, which is to update, of course, to update us of the market developments and updates in the rules. So this will definitely be covered in the guidelines that we will be formulating. Thank you.
Thank you, Lala. Next question, please. Are the trainings will be conducted online? Is there a chance to have a schedule of training in face-to-face? To answer this, may I call on Ms. Lala again?
So given the current situation, I think most of the initial trainings will still be conducted online. And the online training is actually allowed in the manual. As for the conduct of the face-to-face trainings, we will definitely still consider the current situation before we could announce or decide on this. And we will by then advise you on the specific modality of the trainings that we will be offering. Thank you.
Thank you, Lala. Next question, please. This question is from Mr. Elmer of MEGC. Would it be possible that the WCO training will be applied for CPD units? To answer this one, may I call on Attorney Hazel?
Oh, yes. Good morning, everyone. For the question na kung pwede po bang ma-apply for the CPD units, kasi po govern siya ng different entities. Like for example, this WESM compliance related trainings and with significant contents po on the operations will be governed by the WESM through the governance arm, while the CPD units are governed by the specific entities, say for example, the PRC for the professional licenses, which we are aware po may mga similar ganitong continuing education. So sa ganito po, sir, it would be impossible at this time para ma-apply natin yung mga credit units na yon. So we will be exclusively treating the credit units as compliance with the requirement of this manual. And vice versa, sir, I suppose. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Attorney Hazel, for your answer. Next question is from Lamsan. What if the available certified WCO of a WESM trading participant is not holding a senior management position? Would you consider it if certifications to represent the company will be provided? To answer this one, may I call on Lala?
Okay, so with regards to this question, as I have mentioned, currently it is, I think we will be strictly implementing the eligibility requirement, which is supposedly a holder of a senior management position. But we also recognize the limitation this possible limitation on this as you have presented, and we will try to communicate and discuss it with the compliance committee, and let's see if this there could be some changes to address this concern, and this will definitely be included also in the guidelines that we will be issuing. So that's all for this question. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that concern. So next question, please. We have already submitted our WCO annual report through the FTP as advised. Will we receive any confirmation if ECO has received or acknowledged our submission? To clarify on this, may I call on Sir Neil?
So during the advisory for the WCO annual report, meron din po doon confirmation link for the submitted reports. So doon na lang po namin i-base yung submission nyo given the volume of reports. Sa dami po kasi nung WESM member na nagsasubmit ng annual report. So we encourage na upon submission, i-confirm din po natin doon sa link na pinrovide to the email po. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So next question, please. We still have 11 questions left. This one is from APC, Mr. Jason Francisco. What if the company requested a special training session to IMAP? Would this be considered in crediting units in favor of the WCO or the WEO? So may I call on to answer this one, Ms. Lala?
Okay, on that regard, please be informed that the special trainings that you request either with PEMC or IMAP will not be covered or are not credit unit bearing or will not entail a credit unit. So only those that are officially published in our website or in IMAP's website will be considered as the lectures or trainings bearing an equivalent credit unit.
Thank you, Lala, for clarifying that one. So next question, please. For IMOP trainings attended last year, start of the enhanced WESM design operations already, basic WESM advanced trainings, will these have corresponding units already? Can you also clarify on this one, Ms. Lala?
So as I have mentioned earlier, the trainings that will be offered only upon the declaration of the commencement of the compliance period will be covered or will be the trainings or the lecture series or the lectures that will be considered credit unit bearing. So for this one, it will not yet be included in the trainings that will entail a credit unit that will entail a credit unit for you. So that is all for
Thanks,
this one.
Lala. Thank you for clarifying that one. Next question. What if the current WCO does not meet the eligibility requirement? Could you also expound on this, Ms. Lala?
Yes. As I have mentioned earlier, there are so this could be actually a ground for violation since it is covered in the sample violations that are subject to penalties, which I presented earlier. So also note that I have regularly or I think by the end of before 6 months before the end of the compliance period, we would be publishing the compliance status of the WESM members, and that is also the time for you to actually check on your deficiencies if there are any, so that you could take the necessary actions to address the deficiencies for you to still make it to complete the certification requirements before the end of a compliance period.
Thank you, Lala, for your answer. Can we take a look at the next question, please? Are the credit units can be used as CPD points in the PRC renewal? I think this one was answered already earlier by Attorney Hazel. Next question, please. This one is from Suweco 2, from Mr. Henry Follan. What if the registered WCO of the TP has moved? What would the TP do since there is no other certified WCO yet to replace? To clarify this one, may I call on Lala?
Okay, so we will be considering this specific circumstance in the formulation of the guidelines. But for now, I think if you may recall, I have stated earlier that the nominated or the registered WCO of a company is not actually tied with the employer-employee relation. So in the event that there are no other available personnel within your company that would meet the criteria, you may opt to actually hire, or you may opt for a consultant with eligible criteria that could meet the standards. I think.
Thank you, Lala. Would you like to add up on the question, Sir Neil?
With regards kapag may umaalis na WCO sa TP, so same procedure lang din po. As I have discussed nung first part, mandate natin as WESM member to designate a WCO. So duty natin yun na alamin or i-fill up kung sinong WCO yung inonominate natin sa WESM. I hope na clarify po.
Yes po. Thank you, Lala and Neil, for your clarification. Next question is from Miss Amy Morania of PESI. Will there be a separate list or set of topics or training offerings for the second compliance period for the registered WCOs, those considered compliant for the first compliance period? To answer this one, may I call on Miss Lala?
Yes, there will be a separate list po of the training offerings that will be covered per compliance period, and this will be published in the respective websites of the training service providers.
Thank you, Lala. Next question, please. We still have about 14 minutes left for this portion of our session. What about the entities that have yet to register as WESM members but intend to do so? When can they start taking the training? To answer this one, may I call on Attorney Hazel Gobatan Lopez?
Thanks, Paolo. To answer that question, kasi this involves intending WESM members. So what is covered here are actually WESM members as registered in the WESM. Although in the registration manual, it made mention of another type of WESM member, which is an intending WESM member. Pwede na rin po yun. It will have the rights and obligations as set forth in the WESM. But as provided in the same manual, the intending WESM member is not considered to be a WESM member. So may relaxation po tayo as to the requirement. But as we've mentioned po kanina, as mentioned by the trainer, everyone engaged in the compliance-related activities are encouraged to take the certification program, whether or not it would earn credit units. So yung pong mangyayari, they can participate in any of the trainings, pero yung credit units will not be earned yet as hanggat hindi pa po officially registered as a WESM member. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hazel, for your answer. Next question, please. We still have 8 questions left. Following the previous question, are team leader and energy trader eligible to undergo the certification? For this one, may I call on Miss Lala?
But this is the previous question for this one. But anyway, as I have mentioned in the presentation earlier, any personnel within the company that is performing compliance-related function may be what do you call this, may be nominated by the company to undergo the certification process. Now, the only specific requirement of occupying a senior management position is applicable only for those you intend to be identified as the registered WCO of the company. So for the certification, for the certified WCO, wala naman siyang requirement. We only have the base requirement of at least performing the compliance-related functions in the company.
Thank you, Lala. So those are the qualifications po. Next question, please. This one is from Lamsan. Are there separate trainings or topics or modules that cover processes only for priority dispatch generators, or training topics that covers for schedule generators, mostly not applicable tasks? To clarify on this, may I call on Attorney Hazel?
Yes, Paolo. For the topics relevant to the a certain sector or a certain type of the generator, we will include that in the guidelines po para mas may choices kumbaga sa mga intended trainers for this program. So not only for the generators, also din po sa mga ibang sectors like distribution utilities, because we gave too much focus on the in giving the trainings to the generators. Pero yun po, yung sa concern mismo ni Lamsan, because since they are priority dispatch generators, some of the topics which are not relevant to their kind of facility, i-cover po yun ng other training courses. So that's why ipapasok po natin sa formulation ng guidelines po by the compliance committee na magkaroon ng classification as to the types of courses to be offered. Sino yung intended audience niya, ano yung relevant topic for that audience, particular audience or sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hazel. So next question, please. We're down to our last 6 question from Ms. Aimee Morania of PESI. Will there be a separate list or set of topics or trainings for the second? I think this one was already answered. So at this point, are we still allowed to replace our registered WCOs? If yes, until when is the deadline for the replacement of the WCOs? To clarify on this one, may I call on Sir Neil?
So yes po, allowed pa rin naman po. As for the deadline, siguro mag-wait na lang po tayo ng guidelines and advisories kung magkaka-deadline po for the replacement. Pero same procedure pa rin po since may transition period naman po for the WCOs. Pwede nyo na pong i-register or palitan yung registered WCOs. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So, ayun po. I think there are corresponding forms when replacing or nominating your registered WCOs po. And then send them to ECO. Next question, is it possible to send a replacement for the registered WCO to attend a training and earn credit units? For this one, may I call on Attorney Hazel?
Sorry, Paulo. Ano ulit yung question?
Apo,
Hello?
is it possible? Hello po, Attorney. Is it possible to send a replacement for the registered WCO to attend a training and earn credit units?
Okay, so we need to qualify this. Kung yung replacement is replacement of the person attending the training. So say for example, si Compliance Officer A, siya yung nag-attend ng trainings and then eventually he separated from the company or transferred to another company. Yung earned credits niya, hindi pwedeng ipagpatuloy or i-replace ng somebody else in the company na makikredit para sa WESM member. Kasi as Carla mentioned earlier, yung credit points na yun, na-earn siya ng specific WCO, although it is for the compliance of the WESM member. So, let's just give me an example po. For example, company A, meron siyang WCO. So, nag-take siya ng credit units, hindi niya pa natatapos. Lumipat si WCO1 kay company B. So, company is another, for example, generation company. That credit units na na-earn ni WCO1, he will carry that doon sa another company. So, pwede may credit. So, ngayon, kaninong compliance yung tinitingnan? Compliance ni company A. siya yung may WESA member eh. So it's the compliance of the WESA member. The WESA member shall ensure na dapat meron siyang ipapadalang WCO to undertake this program na eventually i-register niya as WCO. So again, to qualify, number one, pwede siyang mag-replace ng WCO sa WESM, but not to replace somebody to attend training in behalf of another WCO. So it's more of personal na attainment of the credit units. But as far as the compliance is concerned, compliance ni WESM member yung ating i-check for enforcement purposes. So ang hindi nakasatisfy doon si WESM member kasi meron siyang WCO na hindi na-register, na hindi certified. Pero si WESA member na nagkulang ng credit units pero may na-earn siya, he will carry that. Kasi the purpose is, after all, i-update yung sarili natin. Hindi naman natin matatransfer yung napag-aralan ni WCO1 kay WESA member A. So, ayun yung context. So, I hope that clarifies the concern po on this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hazel, for your clarification. Next question, please. With regard to the WC annual report, is there an impact in indicating the non-compliances, item number 2, that's in the form po for the covered year? To clarify on this, may I call on again Attorney Hazel?
Ayan, siguro it's important to note the current amendment in the Enforcement and Compliance Manual. Prior to the promulgation of EC Manual, mag-i-investigate lang po si ECO kapag merong request for investigation. So ibig sabihin po, hindi kami pwedeng basta mag-investigate kung walang complainant, parang ganun. Walang nag-endorse sa amin for investigation. Now, ano ba yung impact nung pag-indicate ng non-compliance doon sa WCO annual report? I think it's number 2 or 3 in the form. We encourage you to self-report. So, it doesn't necessarily mean na ma-investigate na kayo or mape-penalize kayo. Ang binanggit ko pong change ngayon sa Enforcement and Compliance Manual, now the ECO is authorized to investigate motu proprio. Ibig sabihin po on our own initiative, meaning kahit wala pong nag-endorse sa amin, pwede kaming mag-investigate. This may be material in our assessment if we need to investigate further. But again, this is not supposed to discourage everyone. Kasi ang purpose po natin dito is to determine the impact of your non-compliance if ever there will be impact nga po. So yun po, ini-encourage po yan because the concept is really self-reporting. Dito po sa form number, for annual report form number, item number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Next question, please. From Sir Jason Francisco. To clarify, sometimes a special training session is requested for plant operators to maximize attendees. But what if the topics is the same as to what was published? Can you further clarify on this?
Sige, I'll answer na lang, Paolo.
Okay pa.
Yung siguro kasi, we will take that into consideration kung paano yung mga special trainings. We do recognize there are because these are efforts of their own WCOs to cascade the information down to their plant operators or yung iba pa nilang enforcement officers. This is actually a good move on the part of the WCO para ma-inform yung lahat. But this is more of a regulation where if ever i-confirm po ni CC na this will not be covered on the credit units because we want to give, as much as possible, we avoid yung pag-give ng special consideration because pwede kasi itong number one, that's one of the factors. Second is the availability. So as not to disrupt the calendar of training activities of PEMC and IMAP, which as we said parang predetermined na siya kasi they will be encouraged to at least provide the training courses for a whole year. So para meron kayong menu, kumbaga, para man. So parang this is we acknowledge this efforts on the part of the WCO to seek help and assistance para yun nga po mas mapalawig yung promotion ng culture of compliance sa organization. But yun po, yun yung ating mga consideration then to balance this. Baka po yun ang i-consider. Pero we will advise you of the final guidelines that will be released by the compliance committee on this matter. Pero thank you for raising this because I know it's really happening on ground. Ganito po yung nare-receive din naming mga kinds of requests. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for that question. Next question, please. We already submitted or uploaded the annual WCO report through the FTP website, having a correct file name convention as instructed on the advisor. However, upon checking, the file did not move to the accepted folder. For this one, you may send us an email po, including along with the screenshot of the possible error kung ba't di po siya nag-move to the uploading to the accepted folder. But as an alternative, you may send your WCO annual report via email. Thank you. Next question, please. This one is from Mr. Pong Ignacio, QPPL, SBPL. Our organization has a flat structure. Thus, we have a very minimal senior management. Can a manager position which functions involve compliance qualify as a WCO? To clarify on this one, may I call on Ms. Lala?
Hi, so for this question, I think for as long as the managerial position, for as long as it qualifies in one of the sample circumstances I have presented earlier, such as being able to direct people to perform specific tasks. But we could still await for the guidelines if we could still further expound on the qualifications or the qualifications for a certified WCO to be recognized as a registered WCO.
Thank you, Lala.
Paolo, may I add lang doon? Oo.
Okay,
yung kasi actually the original version of this includes that anong tawag dito, parang work around if ever there's in case of the lean organization, kasi we do recognize that especially in small companies, hindi man sila basta-basta makakreate ng position for WCO. But again, the rationale for requiring the senior management position is for the officer to be able to make key decisions and to take action on the possible bawa may mga enforcement proceedings. Ayun, he's in the position to decide on things. So that's the rationale. But again, in recognition of the limitation, we actually proposed sana na as long as the information is provided to the governance arm for the kung bakit hindi makaka-appoint ng senior management position, probably we can consider that and propose to the compliance committee as part of the guidelines in recognition of these circumstances. I know a few of the organizations na limited yung kanilang manpower and for some reason may not be able to comply with that qualification. Sige, noted po, Sir Pong, for yung recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you po, Attorney. So this concern is from Mr. Michael Piramo. As of the moment, my WCO report is still being rejected by our FTP platform due to identified destination. I raised this matter to your compliance team several times. Can you comment on this, Sir Neil?
Okay, Sir Paulo. So, Sir Piramo, I think we have problem dun sa email natin kasi I tried to reply to all your emails. So, as Kuya Paulo said earlier, as an alternative, we can send it to the echo@wesm.ph. So, your concern is being checked na po. Yung mga FTP issues po, nire-review na po namin kasi intermittent po yung nagiging issue niya. Hindi po siya applicable for all the TPs. So we will appreciate po to receive yung screenshots para ma-check po namin yung issues for your individual accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Deal. I think we're down to last few questions on our platform po. But before I move on to that, I'm encouraging everyone to please complete the PEMC Transactional Survey or PTS if you wish to receive the presentation materials as well as the consolidated question and answers para po dito. And then also the certificate of attendance. The link is in the chat box and on the QR code. So let's continue po. We're down to our 6 questions. Upon the start of the second compliance period, can the certified WCO replace the company's registered WCO even though they do not hold a senior management position? Can you clarify on this, Attorney Hazel?
Yes, so we will try to consult the compliance committee on this matter kasi nga po yung possible limitation on the part of the management to get a representation from the WCO certified na po at the same time holding a senior management position. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Next question, please. I think this is a part of another question. Next question, please. Uploaded WCO report in the FTP but was rejected. Possible reasons. So I think this one was addressed earlier, but you can still coordinate through our compliance monitoring division team by sending us an email and the screenshot of an error of the FTP you have experienced po. But you can still send the WCO report via email to us at echo@wesm.ph. Next question, please. Uploaded WCO report. Can our WEO be our registered WCO or it is not possible? To clarify on this, may I call on again Ms. Lala for the eligibility requirements?
Well, for as long as your WEO has met the eligibility criteria and has completed the certification requirements, then yes. But in the event that you're left with only one person and that is your WEO, but and has completed the certification requirements, however, is not a holder of any senior management position, I think we could wait for the guidelines as we will try to discuss this particular case with the compliance committee, and let's see if there will be a provision to address this particular concern. Thank you.
Next question, please. How do we register for our registered WCO? Thank you. Can we expound on this one, Sir Neil?
So kung yung minimin po is yung registration na po after the certification, siguro wait na lang po muna tayo ng guidelines. Pero if you mean po yung current, yung sa ngayon po, before the commencement of the compliance period, you can submit an email to us so we can forward po yung mga forms for the registration. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So we're down to last 3 questions po. Next question, please. Follow-up question po regarding item number 2 of the annual WCO report. If the non-compliance indicated in the annual report was just based from the result of the CIMAR, is it still considered self-reporting? To clarify on this, Attorney Hazel, may I?
Yung idea of the self-reporting is actually the reporting of non-compliances which have not been detected by the ECO. So ito po yung mga alam na ninyong makakakumit kayo or you will not be able to comply. Ito po yung ni-report nyo. So that will be included in number 2. Pero po yung mga non-compliances po na routine functions natin that you have to explain, baka po masyadong maraming details yon, pinapasok na po natin, in-evaluate na po natin yun sa CMAR natin. So, ano naman, medyo mas in terms of the timeline, malalaman naman agad natin if justified or not yun. So, you may still report some of these circumstances even if they are justified if you wish to sa part ng annual report, just to also include po in the assessment din na may mga ganitong circumstances kung bakit hindi nako-comply. So, for example po, to name one, for example po, may nag-update na po sa amin ng inability to comply with the mask offer rule because of a restriction. For example, nagkaroon ng ban on the cold delivery, something like that. Yun yung reason nila ba't hindi sila comply. So it's a good information that you may indicate also in the WCO annual report, so that in the study of the DOE also, mako-consider din natin yun and the possible considerations in the future on things na hindi po nasasama sa list of exemptions natin. So, those are the things which are material also to the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Also, we recognize the raising of hands of some of our participants. If you have clarification, you may still send them through Menti. So, next question, please. Next question, please. I think we're down to our last two questions from the Menti platform. In Western Mindanao covered in this is Western Mindanao covered in this ruling? Will there be a relaxing of enforcement and its penalty considering no final date for commercial operations? May I call on Attorney Hazel again to clarify on this one?
Yes, opo. Ito pong, as mentioned din po ni Neil kanina, the Western Mindanao members who are already officially members po sa WESM, covered po sila. But in recognition of the protocol ngayon ng dispatch scheduling and hindi pa talaga declared yung commercial operation, we may also recommend to the compliance committee na kailangan ma-include din sa guidelines yung magiging impact on of non-compliances or inability of some of our Western Mindanao WCOs na makakomply sa 36 credit units. So we will issue po advisory on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Next question, please. Our last question from Menti. Do we need to include the CMAR results to the WCO annual report? May I call on again Attorney Hazel to clarify on this one?
Ako po depende sa perspective nung ating information doon sa annual report. Kasi if it is an indication, for example, meron po tayong mga CMARs na all throughout the period justified tayo, it's an indication of a good compliance program, for example. So you may also indicate that to inform us of this is the result of the effort undertaken by the WCO and all the enforcement officers. So, nasa ano po yan, wala tayong limit on the compliance activities and the results that you would like to indicate in the annual report. Everything is valued po and taken note po dito sa ating assessment ng compliance, evaluation of the compliance, especially under the enhanced Western Design and Operations regime. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. I think there are no more questions from the participants. We will collect and consolidate all of these questions and the responses, and we will release them all via email po, along with a copy of the presentation and your certificate of attendance. So I'd like to thank the members of the panel, the presenters, Attorney Hazel, for responding to these questions, and also everyone for participating. So we hope we're able to address all your questions to your satisfaction. And if you still have questions after this training, you may still send them to us via email at echo@wesm.ph. Anything related to enforcement and compliance may be sent through this website. So to formally close today's training, may I call on the head of PEMCI's Enforcement and Compliance Office, Attorney Maria Hazel Gubatan Lopez, to deliver her closing remarks. So let's all give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Paolo. So, good morning pa. Malapit na Malapit na tayo abutan ng lunch. So again, good morning po sa lahat, sa ating mga compliance officers and enforcement officers. Natutuwa po ako, overwhelming yung ating attendance and questions. So it's an indication that we are paying really attention to this subject matter. So first of all, we thank you for participating in this awareness training today. So ito pong manual on the WCO certification is one of the new things in WESM that I am excited about personally, because I know that having this kind of rule signals that excellence among WCOs in terms of compliance is underway. And I do recognize the importance of the trainings, the updates, and the learnings about the market and new rule developments. So when something new comes out, a new device, for example, new trends, technology, etc., ang una po nating tanong, di ba, is ano ba to? Para saan ba to? How do I use it? How can I apply this or make this work? Then what do we do next? We read the manual, kung device man yan or appliances. We Google, we explore, we even check on YouTube on how things work, for example. So this is how I also look at this subject. The intent of this certification program is for us to learn new things, rules, or guidelines. We need to learn not only the fundamentals of WESM, but also to update ourselves of the new happenings in the electricity market through rule developments. But it doesn't end there. What we should also perhaps ask ourselves when we undertake this activity is, what is this for? Para ba magka-certificate lang tayo for the compliance? So we need to learn and learn some more, so that we know how to comply, to see how it becomes applicable to us, and to cope with the changes or growth in the market, because we are part of it. Maybe through this undertaking, we can even think of improvements or enhancement, katulad din yung nabanggit kanina ng mga nagtanong kung paano kung merong mga rules change proposal na naka-indicate dun sa WCO annual report natin. We can bring forth those ideas through rules change process for the betterment of the WESM. At the earlier part of this awareness training, we heard from our trainer that one of the purposes of the certification is to establish the competency standards among all of us, the WCOs and the WEOs. We need to set at least some sort of a baseline for us, that minimum knowledge that we need to learn for the time being, that we wish to be compressed in a 36-unit program of learning. Anything in excess of that is an extra, which you can grab anytime if you wish to through formal trainings, kung available man, self-study, or self-directed training or learning. Because as we may have heard before, the beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. Compliance isn't something that we should take for granted. And by formalizing this activity through certification, we are in fact giving more particular attention. We are sort of professionalizing the compliance function in the WESM and transforming it into a true profession of the highest integrity and competence. I am optimistic that there will be even more effective compliance leaders across all energy industry segments in 5 or 10 years down the road. Because as John F. Kennedy once said, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. We wish that you welcome this new endeavor as much as we welcome it here in PEMSI and IMAP with much enthusiasm. Thank you for listening to today's awareness training, and we look forward to seeing you more often in trainings to be conducted by PEMSI and IMAP once the commencement of the compliance period is officially declared. Bubunuin natin itong 36 units in 3 years. At kayang-kaya natin to, lalo na marami talagang masisipag na umattend sa mga training. Same names, same faces, nagkikita-kita tayo dito. So, I know we can do it. Just a disclaimer though, as we soon embark on this activity or program, we do not claim expertise on things. But we can promise you that here in PEMSI and IMAP, we will do our best to facilitate the learning activity and articulate it in a manner that could best serve this purpose. Salamat po ulit, good morning and stay safe, and 12:02 na po. Happy lunch everyone. Thank you po ulit for attending this training.
Thank you,
Salamat.
attorney. Thank you, attorney, for your very wonderful closing message for this day's event. So we cannot emphasize enough how much we value your inputs po. And to help us improve our future trainings. And yes, we promise to be yung good service provider or training provider for the upcoming compliance period. So please accomplish the PTS, the link of which is being shared in the chat box and flash on your screens via the QR code. So this officially concludes the awareness training on the WCO certification and registration manual. Thank you again for joining us today. So we trust that you and your families remain safe and healthy in the comfort of your own homes. I wish you all a good day po. Thank you.